It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10.
All right, gang, welcome into episode 109 of the Border War. You know I'm the TanMan. He is BG. Whichever platform you're listening to us on, whether you're listening to us live right now on Spreaker, or you're using one of the multitude of other ways that we can be found on the interwebs, subscribe to the show, like it. If you can leave a review, tell us how awesome we are. It will help us in our fight against crappy sports talk radio. So BG, let's jump right into it. A lot of stuff going on. There was a big basketball game last night. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. I know that the Hornets have jumped back in the box. I know you're thrilled.
They have no business doing
that
stuff. I thought we had moved on.
Well, we tried.
We were in the market for putting the Pacers into the box and just moving on. We tried.
But the Hornets, they're back. They're back.
They're let's be honest. They're competing for an 8 seed. Okay,
I heard someone say the other day they could get as high as a 6.
I could see that because we've talked about how there's a mash of teams at the bottom of those. Well, I guess in the whole Eastern Division, right there in the middle, that there was. I think the last time we looked at it, there was like a 6-win differential between like 14 different teams.
Yeah,
right in the middle there. So yeah, I could see that.
Right, so we'll get to the Hornets a little bit later on. But BG, this past weekend, the best sporting event, the most entertaining sporting event in all of sports.
And
in my opinion.
I've never argued with you on that. It's just the month thing I have a problem with.
The Final Four college basketball season is now in the books. Very sad, but a Final Four that everyone seemed to universally rip as being boring and uninteresting, yada, 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 yada.
I don't know what people want out of the tournament. The tournament itself, though, isn't that what would make the tournament interesting? Is not knowing who's going to come out on the other end of it?
Well,
don't get me wrong. Some of us knew that it was going to be UVA and Texas Tech. Some of us.
I heard a number. I heard someone say it was either Sunday morning, Monday morning, that like 0.5% of ESPN's brackets had Texas Tech and Virginia in the national championship game. So kudos, my friend.
Well, I think it had my bracket in the 99th percentile.
Yeah, I actually said like 0.5%, and they get 20 million brackets.
You want to hear something crazy? Here at the school, I didn't win.
How?
Another teacher.
Did I win?
You did not. Another teacher also had that and was right about Michigan State beating Duke. And that's how she took me out.
I bet that won a lot of brackets.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the Final Four in the books, like I said, this is terrible. This is boring. This is going to be so awful. It's going to be the worst Final Four in history. BG, every one of these games.
They were great.
They were fantastic.
Great
all the way up
games.
Into the championship game that was, this might be the worst rated championship game. Well, if you didn't turn this thing on last night, ladies and gentlemen, you missed a treat. Virginia and Texas Tech was about as good as you could possibly get last night.
And, everything you tweeted out, I loved the stuff you had to say this week on Twitter about you people want it both ways. You want to complain about the NBA not playing defense. Now you've got two teams that play excellent defense, and you want to complain about that too. What is it you want? I mean, because my little shtick has always been, I think the defensive side of the basketball always gets ignored. People don't, people want to give kudos to guys that score 45 points a game but not pay attention to the fact that they give up 30 points a game with uncontested shots. Okay, and there should be, which is why back when I used to argue before he really got on my nerves that LeBron was the greatest player in the game today was because of his defense. It really didn't have anything to do with the offensive side of the ball. It was the combination of the two. All right, so yeah, you're right, man. I don't know what people want. I think it comes down to what I tweeted, Sunday morning. There's too many football addicts out there with a sudden basketball opinion. Well, if you don't watch basketball, then just stop. You don't have to watch this game if you don't want. Just shut up about it.
Well, that was kind of what I wanted to get across on Twitter this weekend. Look, if you're I don't watch the NBA because they don't play defense guy. You're also the same guy who's going, oh, this is going to be so boring. Nobody's going to score. Listen, I would just rather you say, look, man, I don't really like basketball, but I like the tournament.
Because a casual basketball fan needs a lot of offense, right? Because they don't know what the screens are. They don't see them happening. They don't get the picks. They don't get the roll. They don't see the zone versus the man-to-man. They don't see things developing. Man, if you know, and again, you know so much more about college basketball than me, but if you can't appreciate watching Virginia's defensive movement, the clockwork precision that they play defense with, then I just don't have anything for you.
The knock on these two teams is it's going to be so hard to score. What was the final score last night? It was 85 to 77. And you got 5 extra minutes. I get it,
but they both broke. They were pushing 70 points, which is about average.
Which is they both scored a little over 70 a game. Zero in on Virginia. Last night, there were about 5 times towards the end of the ball game where I thought one of them was going to get ready to put the other one away, and then the other one would storm right back.
Texas Tech definitely started out so cold offensively that you really felt like
when they hit the first TV timeout and it was 3-2. I'm going, oh God, look, I'm okay with the defense, but you got to do CA. Well, you're on pace to score 38 points.
Rumor is when the score was 3-2 at the 15-minute mark that Frank Martin was upset that there had been too many points scored. He didn't understand where all this offense was coming from.
But I tell you, the play of the game last night to me is not the reach in by Hunter that they went to the booth and reviewed that became so controversial. To me, it was Ty Jerome driving in. He drove in the one trip down and he missed the lay-in. Texas Tech comes back down. So then Virginia gets the ball back down. They're down 3. The lane opens up. Everything spreads out. The lane to the basket opens up. There's probably about 17 seconds to go. And I guess this is why I'm here and why Ty Jerome and Tony Bennett, DeAndre Hunter, why they're there. Because he drives to the basket. I'm going, okay, you lay this in, you cut it to 1, you play the free throw game. He fires that thing into the corner. I'm like, what are you doing? And DeAndre Hunter just, man, as Bill Raftery would say, onions. Big time, hits the 3 to tie it back up. I thought, oh my goodness. And that right there to me is where things turn. That's when I said, okay, this is, you had the end of the game play against Purdue where Clark throws it back to Diakite and he lobs it in. You had the comeback against Auburn in the Final Four when DeAndre Hunter hit that 3 to tie it back up. That's when I said, okay, look, there's no point fighting anymore. Virginia's your national champion.
Well, Virginia was your national champion as soon as I filled them in on that spot on the bracket. But you're going to
learn. Here we go.
All right, that's all I'm going to say. But where is all this Virginia hate coming from? I've never seen, a universally kind of unified. Well, that's what universally means, isn't it? I just said the same word twice. The Twitter reaction to Virginia for the last 3 wins has been the refs gave it to them. And people want to isolate calls. And I'm not going to say there haven't been some calls that I disagreed with. But, again, nobody goes back to minute 12 of the first period and points to – I mean –
To me, it's a lot of the – you take the football, for instance, okay? When there's a play in football, what happens after one play? You stop, right?
Right.
And then then you stop and you run another play, and then you stop. In basketball, it's constantly flowing. And so if there's a missed call, there's no recourse for that. Like if it's a live ball missed call, there's no recourse. The game has to keep going, and you can't go back and stop the game. You can't go back and review every single call. And so I think that's kind of some of where the referee stuff is coming from. I don't agree with it.
But it's all in one direction, though.
Right. I don't agree with it. As far as the Virginia hate goes, I think this is people from 4 or 5 years ago when Tony Bennett was kind of just getting this thing started. He didn't have the players he's got now, and so when he's running this this slowed down slogging pace, they were listen. I thought the hate on this game was ridiculous, but several years ago, look, if you wanted to get on Virginia and Tony Bennett about his pace and his style, look, man, it was hard to watch sometimes.
Right.
I think that's changed. I think they've gotten more efficient. That's the highest scoring team he's ever had. But I think that's where it comes from was, just over the years, people have built this thing up in their mind where, Virginia's boring, Tony Bennett's boring, and they've never given this Virginia team the credit they deserve. Now, whether that's got to do with last year's
I was going to ask if you thought
know.
some of it was just scorn from them losing. And I saw a Twitter poll today, and I don't think I agree with the results. You know, which one of those two things will be more memorable, that they lost to a 16 seed last year or that they won a title? And it was like 83% with 2,000 votes that people are going to remember they lost to the 16 seed. See, I think over time, I always talk about this, controversial wins, whatever. Man, who cares? 10 years from now, people are going to see that they're going to look up on Wikipedia and see Virginia won a title in 2018, 2019. And that loss is going to become a trivia question. It's not going to be the thing people talk about. Because you said this last year, I think they're going to win another one. They're going to win another title in the next 5 or 6 years. And I think it's not impossible that another 16 seed beats the number 1 seed, because the tournament's changed. Basketball has changed. These 16 seeds aren't what they used to be. I think there's more parity than there was 20 years ago, and I think we'll see it happen again at some point.
I agree with you. I think that this we're going to see another 16 beat a 1. It might not be.
Well, the fact that it happened already makes it more probable.
Right. It might not be, but once every 10 or 12 years or something even. But I think it'll happen again. As far as, last year and what's more memorable, what are people going to remember? I disagree with you. I mean, look, I don't think it's fair. They have owned this and handled it about as well as you could possibly ask any group of young men and a coach to do. But you're the first one.
Sure.
The next one that loses is going to be, okay, happen again. But you're the first one. And that is something that, as Tony Bennett said, it's part of their story. It doesn't define the program, obviously, because they came back and bounced back and won the title last night. So that loss doesn't define the program. But let's say they didn't win last night. Let's say we're still talking 2 or 3 years down the road and Virginia is still top 3.
Well, that is a very different premise.
But that's what I'm saying. This 16 seed is this UMBC thing is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. And like I said, it's not going to define the program or Tony Bennett and his style or whatever. I just think
people's sports memories have changed, though. I mean, as notorious as it was, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you just don't hear people hold on to things the way they used to do, because there just seems to be the national attention span seems to have shrunk to me. I think especially if they win another title in the next, I don't know, in the next 5 years. I think that story just goes away.
I tell you one person, one group that has not forgotten about last year is UMBC.
No, they love tweeting.
Boy, they love to tweet about that.
And who blames them, man?
Oh, I would tweet about that for the next 50 years.
That should be the only thing they market themselves as. I mean, even if you're not a basketball player, come here. We beat Virginia.
Hey, I'd hang a banner up in whatever little tiny gym there is.
Yeah.
But the Cavaliers, like I said, nevertheless, they are your national champions. I could not be happier for Tony Bennett. I'm not the
former
ACC
Charlotte
guy.
Hornet.
Former Charlotte Hornets. I'm not ACC conference guy. I think we've talked about that. That's stupid.
It's beyond stupid.
That's the most ridiculous thing. But for Tony Bennett
it makes a little more sense for you than it does for me.
Yeah. Why's that?
Because you guys are the ACC. We are the redheaded stepchild of the SEC.
No, but think about this though. Tony Bennett's a young guy. Tony Bennett's going to be around for a long, long time.
No, I know what you're saying. But I'm just saying North Carolina has a different relationship with the ACC than South Carolina has with the SEC. I literally don't think we belong in it. I don't want to go off on a thing. And most of the schools that are in it don't want us.
Well, look,
we should have stayed in the ACC. I tweeted about it today.
I did see a lot of, I'm so glad the ACC. I was pulling for Virginia because of their association with the ACC. I'm thinking, look, man, Roy Williams is on the back end of his career. Mike Krzyzewski's on the back end of his career. This whole, role of being the top dog in the ACC could turn over real quick.
Yeah.
And having Virginia now having that national championship is not going to do anything for North Carolina or Duke 4 or 5 years down the road. Trust me, that's going to be a problem.
No, I agree with
Tony
you
Bennett
there.
being there is going to be a problem.
I agree with you there.
The way too early top 25 rankings for next season are out on ESPN. You can check them out. Number one, of course, is we don't know. We have an idea of who's going to declare and whatnot, but we're still waiting on some of these things. This one has Michigan State as the top team going into next season. Assuming Cassius Winston is back, you've got Kentucky at 3. You've got Virginia checking in at 4. North Carolina, Duke is 6. North Carolina all the way down. I think they check in at 23. So the Tar Heels, they've got some holes, losing basically 5 of their 6 starters.
We knew Kobe was going to leave. I probably would have guessed Nasir Little was going to leave. But
it didn't seem like Nasir Little was, 8 hours after they got back to Chapel Hill. He's tweeting out deuces, man. Kind
of makes you wonder how much of him was there to begin with.
Yeah.
I think he could have been a lot more dominant player this year than he actually was.
But like I said, Virginia checks in at 4, so they're expected to be another one of the leaders. I actually saw where the Vegas odds has Virginia as the betting favorite.
There's a bunch of different ones though. I saw them at a 13-2. I saw them at a 5-1. I saw them tied with Kentucky for the most likely, and I saw them all the way down at 5th on a different poll.
Speaking of betting, this is off topic. You saw the Texas Tech guy, right?
What do you mean?
That there was a guy, he bet Texas Tech to win the national title.
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't see this? All right, he bet Texas Tech to win the national title back before the basketball season started. He bet $1,500 for them to win it. I don't remember what the odds were. But anyway, they win it. He wins $300,000, okay? Last week, going into the Final Four, there's a website, I forget the name of it, Pick Swap or something like that, where you can sell your bet. And so he was asking like $60,000 or something.
Smart move.
Going into the Final Four. Right.
Obviously, not thinking Texas Tech was going to win.
Right.
But that's what
he's trying to make sure he cashes in with a little bit. I think Des Bryant offered him like 50. I think somebody else came in and offered him like 57. He said no. After they win Saturday, someone offered him $100,000. He says no. He's going to ride it out.
Oh.
And so now he's sitting at home with nothing. Now, like I said, maybe he hedged his bet. Maybe he placed a bet on Virginia to win to kind of even the odds a little bit.
Is he rich?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the real question.
I don't know.
If he's worth a few $1 million, he'll be okay. If he's living in a double wide somewhere, then he's probably pretty upset with himself.
He was 15 seconds away from $300,000. Gone, poof, like that with that DeAndre Hunter shot.
That's why I can't gamble, man. I was. Well, how can I tell this story? I know someone who was playing those $5 parlay cards there for a while and didn't have the stomach for like losing $30 over a month. They just at some point, a close friend of mine who is not me. Let me make that very clear. Not me. Was unable to stomach that massive dollar loss. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
you know the guy I'm talking about.
That guy, know.
Friend of the show.
I do know. Do you love these bracketology things?
Not really.
No.
I mean, I think it's just basketball addicts like you. That's just a way for you to console yourself and say the season's over. But let's go ahead and get this rolling for next year.
Just something to. Joe Lenardi has got Carolina as a 2 seed, in his very first bracketology.
I don't even know what that is, though.
What?
That makes no sense to me. Like, there's no point. There is nothing. There's nothing.
There's lots. What do you mean there's nothing?
There's no information available.
No more informations?
Not, the informations are not yet available.
Well, there's plenty of information available. Lenardi's got the Tar Heels as a 2.
To be honest, though, that sounds right to me.
That seems high. Your 1s, no surprise. Duke, Michigan State, Virginia. Let's see here. I'm looking. I don't see Clemson anywhere. He's got Clemson as the first 4 out. Still looking, still scrolling.
No South Carolina at all.
No South Carolina at all.
Well, I'll say this, and I defended Frank all year. Making the tournament next year is not optional. Making the tournament next year is not optional.
If he doesn't make the tournament next year,
well, I think he'll leave on his own.
He'll leave on his own.
I think he'll leave on his own.
Yeah, there's still some jobs that are opening.
I don't think Ray Tanner is a competent enough AD to fire a guy like Frank even after his 8th year.
Okay. Look, there's some jobs there. McCronin just took the UCLA job, so Cincinnati's now open. I think Cincinnati's a good job. I think Frank's going to have options next year if he wants them. I'm just saying.
We do think he's going to be back in Columbia next year, though, because we were wondering about that for a while.
Yeah, I think there for a while there was a chance that he may move on, but
I'll say this too. I mean, it's a little off topic. But I don't particularly think Ray Tanner wants him in Columbia. I don't think he's ever liked him. He certainly has not marketed that basketball program at all.
Well, I don't think very many people, including yourself, want Ray Tanner in Columbia right now. But that's a whole other show.
He's not real high on my list right now.
That's a whole other show to talk about. Let's spend the last few minutes of episode 109 talking about an issue that I know is close deep down in your heart. You're so glad they're back. The Charlotte Hornets, where they won 4 in a row now.
I'm going to walk over to my desk, and I'm going to get a mint because I want one. And you talk about the Hornets, and I'll react when you get back. Go ahead.
No, look.
I'm leaving the room for just a minute. Go. I'm going to go get a mint. You talk about. I'll be right.
You have the devil's jelly right here.
I'm going to eat.
Look, the Charlotte Hornets, I think they've won 4 games in a row. Sunday afternoon, they're taking on Detroit on the road. They jump out to a huge lead in the first half, come crashing back down in the second. The fourth quarter was absolutely horrible. It was borderline unwatchable. I think through about 6 minutes, they had 5 points. Somehow, some way, the Charlotte Hornets have pulled this thing out, and they are now sitting. No, we're just getting started.
What?
Somehow, some way, the Charlotte Hornets have gone from being like 4 games out with 5 games to play. They are now a game out. They own tiebreakers. There's 2 to play. And the 2 teams that are ahead of 2, they've got the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. And the Cavs are all in on the Zion sweepstakes.
We'll see what effect us talking about it has on them.
Should, knock on wood, be a win. And then I think Wednesday night, you get the Magic, who clinched the playoff spot. The Orlando Magic, I think the Charlotte Hornets have beat them 3 times. I think they own the tiebreakers over the Magic and the Heat. Both 2 teams still in that mix. The Magic come to Charlotte to end the regular season.
Do we know what's turned this around? Because I haven't been watching.
What do you mean you haven't been watching?
I haven't been watching them the past month.
Well,
when the trade deadline passed, I waved the white flag on this team for this season.
In their winning streak, I know they had the win over Toronto.
Well, early on they beat Toronto. What did they beat the Celtics too in that little stretch?
Yeah. But they beat Toronto on another Jeremy Lamb buzzer beater. You know, you had the half court heave in Toronto. They beat them at home the other week. Like we said, Sunday.
Well, early on in the season, I thought he looked like their best offensive player. I mean, right the first month of the season. I didn't really understand why they weren't running the offense through him, and said it on the show, I think. But yeah, I saw Nick Batum's stats, man. He's been averaging 21 minutes and 3 shots and 4 points. Like, how is that still a thing?
I don't know.
How is he playing 21 minutes?
I don't know.
I mean, he doesn't play great defense.
If you didn't watch any of them Sunday, you missed Frank the Tank putting on a show. Frank Kaminsky gave him he's had a couple good games lately. I think Frank is playing for, he's auditioning for another NBA team. I don't think he'll be back in Charlotte, but he put on a show up in Detroit Sunday. I think he had 24, made some big threes. Some of these guys around Kemba Walker are finally, I hate that it took 80 games, but he's finally getting a little bit of help down this last little push. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
I wonder what Kemba's mindset is.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's enough to keep him in or what.
If I were him, I'd be out. There's no way this team could convince me
Money talks.
By anything they're going to do in the draft. I mean, well, and again, we've talked about this 100 times on the show.
Money
All
talks.
of us that talk about Kemba Walker, myself included, we assume we know anything about this guy, man. We've talked about this. Playing in Los Angeles and winning rings might not be on his shopping list. No one knows that. I don't know. He's a real private guy. He doesn't talk about this stuff a lot.
Hey, look, I said the Hornets, they don't control their own destiny, but they're pretty close. If they win the last two against Cleveland and Orlando, I guess Detroit's got to lose one of their next two. They're going to be in. The Pistons, they've got the Grizzlies and the Knicks left. There's no guarantee.
They could easily
win both of those. Right now, the Hornets sit with a 23% chance at that last playoff spot. But what's the old days? There's a chance.
Here's my question.
23% chance right now.
Here's my question. This is probably what separates us from normal shows, because I'll just undermine our whole segment on live radio here. But what does it matter whether they make the playoffs?
I think it does.
Okay.
I think
Sell
it does.
me on it, because I don't know that it does. I haven't decided that it doesn't, because I think they're going to lose in the first round, and that's going to be the end of that. And then what are we talking about here?
Okay. I agree with you. If they get in to the playoffs, let's say they get in with the 8th seed and they go up to Milwaukee round one. Milwaukee's going to – they're not beating Milwaukee this season. I get it.
Yeah.
But when you look across the roster, all right, number one, you still got Kemba Walker. That's a fluid situation, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. What's going to do with him? I think you're kind of locked in with you're kind of stuck with Batum right now, probably for another season. Maybe you can move him at some point. As time goes on, that contract becomes a little more, I don't want to say desirable, but to other teams,
not as
toxic. Perfect. But then you look at the rest of that roster. You've got Miles Bridges, who's starting to get some minutes now, and you've got guys like Malik Monk. You've got Devontae Graham. You've got some of these young guys who you would think are going to be around for a couple more years, for another handful of years. You cannot you can't explain playing playoff basketball. It's like being in the NCAA tournament.
I got you.
If you're not in it, you don't know how to explain it. And if you have designs on, however they decide to go forward after this season, the ultimate end game is to put yourself back in the pool, whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever it is. You're going to want Miles Bridges. This might be, if Kemba Walker walks, this team's going to, they're going to be terrible next year. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, no question.
But as you start building toward trying to make another playoff push down the road, you want that experience. You want guys like Miles Bridges and Malik Monk that you would think are going to play a role in the next few years. You want them to have that in the memory bank. So they have the experience of being there. They know what it's like. They know what the environment's like. They know what needs to be done to get ready going into playoff basketball. I just think being there being there would be huge for some of these young guys' development. Is what I'm trying to say.
Do you think it helps develop them more to not get the 8th seed and have to play the Bucks? Does it? The Raptors aren't much of a better draw.
I don't think it matters if you get if you get the 8th seed.
I'm not suggesting you're going to win. I'm just suggesting is having some positive of an experience a better experience, or do you think just checking off the box and saying we've experienced playoff basketball, we know what it feels like now?
I think if you look back at where they were a week ago and to where they are now, and then possibly where they could be this time next week, you're talking about a huge gap. Like I said, they won 4 in a row. If you get in, you're going to have to basically win your last 2 to get in. If you get in, that means you're hitting the playoffs. You won 6 games in a row with your back against the wall to get into the playoffs. That's huge.
We've talked about it in the NFL. Sometimes one thing I always do when we always do our NFL segment, right, to preview the season. We talk about whatever number you say it is, 5, 6 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that are going to make it this year. Man, always go look at the teams that didn't play well but won their last 5 games or won 6 out of their last 8 games.
Or pick the Oakland Raiders like I do every year and stink.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Because I do think that stuff matters. You're bringing all the same cats back. This is not college sports, right? These guys spend a lot of time in the offseason together. They work out together. Momentum matters in pro sports one season to the next.
Like I said, you've got some young guys on this team. You've got a young head coach. Who's coming into the season, he had a total of like 30 games of head coaching experience.
Hopefully my crunching on this mint's not going to pick up on the mic.
Well, so we can always hit our cough button.
Well, I mean, I didn't know I was going to do it. I kind of forgot we were being recorded. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like we're just kind of talking.
But anyway, like I said, the Hornets, man, they're knocking on the door right now, the playoff matchups.
Are you excited about it, TanMan?
Yes.
You're excited?
Yes, I am.
Is that why you're wearing that Hornets shirt?
I got my Hornets gear on tonight. Tonight at 7 o'clock. I think it's 7.
You know what? I just happened to remember my 5th grader wore his Buzz City T-shirt to school today.
I've seen a couple kids around town with Kemba Walker jerseys and Charlotte Hornets stuff.
There need to be more.
It's starting to come around.
Kemba's a bad man. Anybody that's not excited about watching him play, I don't.
Listen, if he leaves, I hope he's.
I just don't think there's enough defense in the NBA, man. I can't watch it.
You can't watch it. Were you bored last night?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Wherever he goes, I just hope he doesn't go to the Lakers. I don't want him to go to LA.
There. I don't want anybody to save that mess.
I heard somebody say they thought the best fit for him would be Utah. Utah landing a guy like Kemba Walker would. Oh my goodness, man, that'd be fantastic for them.
It would be. I mean,
and if the Knicks are smart, I think they would prioritize him over Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving would be toxic.
He seems to be.
Yeah, I think. But anyway,
something is
the top the most likely playoff matchups are, as we sit right now, Bucks, Pistons, Raptors, Magic, 76ers, Nets, and Celtics, Pacers. That one is happening 4-5. This one, I don't know. This one feels like a 1, 2, 3, 4 to me. I don't see any upsets on that. On the Western side, it's a little more interesting. It seemed like just days ago, Oklahoma City was sitting at 3. I think they are now at 8. If I'm not mistaken.
Which is amazing.
The Warriors and Thunder in the first round. I kid you. Rockets, Clippers.
I remember. You remember our show we did last year where I did that like 20-minute straight breakdown of all the different possibilities. I talked about. I remember that there was a possibility of a Warriors Thunder matchup then, and talking about how is there some chance that this Golden State train gets derailed in the first round, but as it turned out, they didn't end up drawing them.
Look, man,
I don't think you want the Thunder in the first round. I mean, you're probably going to win it, but again, if you're Golden State going into that, you want to sweep it. You guys are tired. You don't want to. You're already going to be playing another month and a half anyway.
Yeah,
you want to win 4 and rest for a week.
So you want to get through as quick as you can. Look, the Western Conference, 8th place in the West, 9th place in the West would probably put you somewhere around 5th in the East.
Now, have the Warriors flipped a switch yet, or are they still sort of just struggling? Because
no, who was it they were playing the other night? Somebody they were playing the other night, and Kevin Durant got tossed, and the switch got flipped. Man, Steph Curry's hitting shots from the hash mark. He's running down the court. He's pointing at the referee, tossing KD.
So they're ready to go. We still feel like this is going to be a buzzsaw because early in the season, I really was wondering, man, maybe this is the year.
Look, maybe
the best thing for the NBA would be for somebody to knock them out. I'm telling you, you got is what it is.
Rockets, Clippers at 2-7, Nuggets, Spurs at 3-6, and then Blazers, Jazz at 4-5. Look, Houston's one of those teams that they started off, struggling. They got hit with some injuries. Once they've gotten everybody back healthy, no one's kind of talking about it, and they've jumped all the way up to 2.
Look,
like I said, they gave Golden State all they wanted last year. If anybody knocks off the Warriors out of the Western Conference, it'll be Houston.
It feels like James Harden can have nights where he can beat teams all by himself. He's.
When they make a bunch of threes, they'll beat anybody in the league. But, as you saw last year in the playoffs when they missed something like 25 of them, like if they're not hitting, they're not beating anybody.
And what they missed was an Achilles tendon. I mean, that's why they didn't win. And that's why I
think you're
picked
right.
them preseason to make the finals, but I also picked them to beat the Celtics, which is probably not what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think Boston. If they could get their mind right, they could still be. I think the East is a coin flip. I think there's 4 teams.
Boston.
You would have 5 if not for Victor Oladipo's knee. You would have 5 teams with a real shot to come out of the East. I think, but I think you got 4.
Boston is the Dick Slater of the NBA, man. You just
Dirty
don't,
Dick
you don't know
Slater.
which one's going to show up, man. Dick might be your friend one night, but sooner or later, he's going to stab you in the back.
He's going to turn on you, man. All right, that's it for episode 109. You can follow us on Twitter. He is at BG_BorderWar. I'm at TanMan3264. I'm looking into it, man. I'm looking into it. I'm trying. You can follow the show at The Border War. We're also on Facebook, so like and share our page on Facebook. You can email the show at carolinaborderwar.com@gmail.com. Like I said, that is it for 109. We will see you later. Virginia Cavaliers, your 2019 NCAA champions, and your Charlotte Hornets knocking on the door to the playoffs, baby.
And congrats to Mike Young, new coach at
Yes.
Virginia Tech.